Mandy Moore, you're nominated for an Emmy this year for choreographing the routine's Brand New and To Make You Feel My Love from So You Think You Can Dance. But last year you actually won your first Emmy, and it was for Dancing with the Stars. What was that moment like when your category was announced?
Well, what was kind of funky is that we actually performed as choreographers in the show. We put together a number that all the nominated choreographers were in. So I was kind of in performance mode. I'm not gonna lie. Like, we just got off the stage. We like finished our pose. They sat us down in our seats, and then it was like, oh, they're like doing our category right now. So it was kind of good because my brain was somewhere else. Obviously I was nervous. My like heart was moving a million miles an hour. But yeah, when they called my name, I was just like, oh, like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know how people keep it like so cool when they win, because I was like freaking out. It was so fun.
And it's interesting because it was your first Emmy, but that year you were actually nominated for both So You Think You Can Dance and Dancing with the Stars. So when your name was called, was there a moment where you're like, oh, which did I win for?
Yeah, a little bit for sure. It's like I had to listen because I wanted to make sure, obviously, that I thanked the correct people. And I knew when I got up there, I was going to thank both So You Think and Dancing with the Stars, because I'm super lucky to have both of them, and they kind of inform my career back and forth. So, yeah, I mostly was just like, geez, if I don't win this time, like, I don't know how this is gonna happen. Like, I mean, I'm nominated twice. Like, when does that ever happen? So I was super, super psyched. And, it was cool to share it with Travis as well, because I thought that he had incredible work last year. And so I was really glad they gave two.
Yeah, and how did they announce that? Did they announce him first and then you, or did they announce both names together, or you first?
Yeah, I was actually first, and it was Jenna Dawn and Julianne Hough, actually, that were like announcing our category, and they're really good friends, obviously, of all of us. So yeah, they announced my name, and I was like freaking out, blah blah blah. Got my got the walked off stage, and I was standing right back on the other side, and they said, oh, and there's one more that they're going to give. And I was just like, what? And it was probably so lame, but I was like peeking my head out of the corner. And when they said Travis's name, I was like freaking. So it was super fun.
Wouldn't it have been amazing though if there had been a tie and you tied with yourself?
Can you imagine? And the second one goes to Mandy again. I was like, yeah, that'd be incredible. But super honored. Like, one, I will take it, man. That was awesome.
And as you mentioned, you've done work for both Dancing with the Stars and So You Think You Can Dance. Is there a difference between choreographing for like the pros on Dancing with the Stars versus the contestants on So You Think You Can Dance?
Yeah, I mean, you understand this. They're completely different shows. It's really fun because on Dancing with the Stars, I get to do these like kind of big production-y, big group numbers with dancers that are kind of out of my genre. I'm mostly trained in jazz and contemporary, and have started to learn more about ballroom and Latin over the years. So for me, it's like that world is really fun because I kind of get to just like direct their awesome movement, where So You Think is a little bit more of my like creative, artistic, emotional self, because that's really more my lane. And it's duets usually. I do some group numbers obviously on the show, but I do a lot of duets. So they're super different, like brain, like lanes of my brain.
And now you're actually going to be a judge on Dancing with the Stars Junior. So what was that like to make that decision to join that show, and what are you expecting to kind of what that to be like as a judge?
Yeah, well, it's been in talks for a while, and so I kind of was like, who knows if this is going to happen, because like a lot of shows get in talks and you never know if it's going to happen. So when they actually like said it was going down, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, and it went down really fast. So a lot of people don't know that so many of us as choreographers and teachers have made a living judging, kids in dance competitions and teaching children across the country and the world. So for me, it feels kind of like home, weirdly enough. Like that was kind of always my day job, was coaching and teaching and judging kids. So yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm going to be nervous and it'll be like crazy because, obviously it's television, but I'm really excited. I love kids and I love that show. So super psyched to be there.
Do you think you'll be doing any kind of choreography for Dancing with the Stars Junior, maybe like junior pros?
Yeah, so I'm still supposed to be doing a lot of the opening numbers, which is really great. So I still get to work with them and create, big production numbers with everybody. And I like having my hand in both, honestly, because it kind of helps me know them a little bit as well, because I get to work with them outside of just seeing them compete, which maybe will give me a little bit different perspective than some of the other judges, which I think will be cool.
And what's interesting about both Dancing with the Stars and So You Think You Can Dance is that, they're on different networks. They're both dance competition shows. You'd expect there almost to be like this kind of fierce competition between them, but there just seems to be more of a kinship where you have, choreographers and professionals and, moving from show to show. What's that like to have that kind of kinship between the two shows?
I think it's really lovely, honestly, because I think for a long time there was a little bit of that old school thinking of like, well, if you're on that show, you can't be on this show. And, I don't think that benefits anyone, honestly. And, maybe I have like a utopian way of looking at it, but, I really like that we have, EPs that are willing to discuss people moving from show to show, because I really do believe that one informs the other. Like if you like dance, you might watch Dancing with the Stars. And if you have never seen So You Think, you might want to watch So You Think, and vice versa. And even World of Dance, like we're all competitive shows. And of course, everybody wants the ratings. Everybody wants like everyone to watch their shows. But anything that has dance on television is huge for all of us. It's great.
And this year, you're nominated routines, brand new, and To Make You Feel My Love. What made you select those for consideration for the Emmys?
Well, it's weird. I don't know if how much you know about the choreography category specifically, but we have the opportunity to submit 3 numbers kind of as like a body of work, 2 numbers or 1 number. So it's a little bit of a like, you have to kind of think, like you have to, I'm not going to say play the game because it's not that, but I knew for my body of work, I wanted to show that I can choreograph group numbers with, 100 dancers on location, but then I also can do a duet. So for me, those, I thought that would maybe be something that would be in my favor, because it's something that is very much in my wheelhouse. I do those big numbers, but then I also do duets. So, I was super proud of the Academy number. It's like, I wish that people could see what it took to get there, like shot one day on location, 100 kids. We had 1 day of rehearsal. A lot of those segments were shot in 20 minutes. I mean, it was just such a huge group effort on everyone's part. And so super proud of that. But then, obviously I had Robert and Taylor, who are awesome dancers. And I really loved that duet, the contemporary duet.
And what's it like trying to figure out how to use the physical space in a large group number? Because in that number there's not just a lot going on, but a lot going on in the foreground, in the background, up above. How do you go about deciding that?
Well, again, I wish that we could have been on our location scouts. I wish you could see it, because you would laugh. I mean, it's literally myself and then Jeff Thacker, our EP, and like a couple PAs. And we're at location, like just the 4 of us. I'm like, okay, go over there and dance. And we're going to kind of shoot it like this. And then like, okay, you go far away and then you come close to me. And it literally is a comedy show to see how you can even understand what those shots are. But funny enough, you take that back to take it back to Mike Yurchuk, who's also an EP, and we kind of cut it all together and could decide, okay, that should be our first shot. This should be our second shot. And then that's the part that I really come in, where I go like, okay, now what is filling the frame in that moment? I've got 30 dancers that are hip hoppers. How do I do that? And where do they come from? And that's actually the fun part.
And as you mentioned, you're primarily choreograph for jazz and contemporary, but in that number you've got a number of different dancers from a number of different disciplines and specialties. What's it like trying to adapt your own choreography to so many other different styles?
That's a really good question. I love this question. So, well, first and foremost, I am like a complete nerd when it comes to dance. Like I love dance. So it's like, I think I'm a hip hop star at sometimes, like I really want to get my hip hop on, and then like, I really want to get my crump on, even though I know nothing about it. I appreciate people that can move, and I appreciate dancers. So, it's a really interesting place to be working with a crumper, because I'm not a crumper, but I know enough about movement, and I know enough about like the style, the culture, that I can kind of like conduct it in a weird way. I'll say like, well, I see something like, you know, boom, bah, or something. And then they'll go like, oh, okay. And we'll giggle a little bit. And I'm like, that's not the move. But then they'll go, oh yeah, well, what about this kind of a thing? And it's a really great exchange. You know, it happens a bit more. I mean, it happens in jazz and contemporary, but it's a lot more when I'm working with ballroom or I'm working with crump or tap or something like that. I kind of have to just work with the dancer.
And for To Make You Feel My Love, what about that routine among the duets that you've choreographed? What stood out about that one?
Well, you know, first of all, like I said, I had Robert and Taylor, beautiful dancers, super strong, very technical. Both of them are, you know, at the height of their athleticism and technique. So when I had heard that song, Jeff actually played that song for me, I want to say a couple years ago, and we kind of just thanked it, held on to it because it wasn't the right couple. And then when I found out I had Robert and Taylor, it felt like they needed a kind of a lovely romantic soft duet because they'd been doing a lot of like hard hitting, strong, dark numbers. So yeah, we just decided that one. And then, you know, what's super weird is like sometimes I blank out or I can't remember the creative process and I don't know how to explain that, but I just like, I remember starting and then I kind of remember finishing. And I guess maybe that means you're in the zone, you know, like I just was creating on their bodies and, you know, they can do anything. So I was super lucky with that one. And, you know, I love lifts and turns and jumps and weird things. So it was kind of, again, like just kind of painting a picture, I guess, with them.
Yeah, and it must have been, especially with Taylor, felt like you know, kind of a gift because she has this incredible flexibility and this kind of long frame that you could create all these amazing shapes with.
Oh yeah, and of course, like I'm 2'2", so like I am so short, and like I was always like a strong, powerful dancer. So when I get one of those like long dancers, but someone who has strength, I mean, I'm just like, can you please put your leg like that, and can we go there, and can you twist around here? It's just super fun. It's like molding or like putting something together with clay.
And you've been working on season 15 also of So You Think You Can Dance, in addition to the upcoming Dancing with the Stars Junior. What has this season been like for you so far? They just, as we're recording this, they just you know, announced the top 10 who are going into the live shows. What do you think about this season so far?
Well, it's been awesome to be on the other side, you know, to be able to produce. And, you know, we've known the top 10 for a while. So I'm so excited to like actually that it's out there now. You know, we made a bunch of format changes in the Academy. We had a lot of shows that were pre-taped from the Academy and the auditions. And, you know, they added that extra little thing of the top 20 dancing with all-stars and then cutting down to 10. And I loved that. I thought it was really good because it really showed you who's ready for the show and who's not. You know, it was a really great kind of meter for that. And, you know, we only have 6 live shows, so we are packing it solid with dance. I mean, I cannot tell you how much dance these kids are going to be doing. And it's like, you know, we have to make sure that those shows are full of incredible work. And that's been really fun because we've been meeting with a lot of choreographers and getting their ideas and, you know, booking them for the show. So we have a couple new choreographers, which I think is going to be really great. I really try, you know, when Jeff and I talk and Nigel, like we want to get new people on that show because it's really important to support new young choreographers and bring them in. So who knows, we might have some new favorites coming in.
And to come into you know, these live shows after all these tape shows, like how much time is there? Like, do these dancers have to suddenly warm up to get back into like their competitive mindset after you know, however long ago the Academy was where they qualified for the live shows?
Well, you know, I guess that depends on the dancer. I mean, between you and I, like if I knew I was in the top 10, I would be training every second from the minute I got home, you know. I think a lot of them have been. You know, I think they're ready. You know, that's the thing about these kids is like very few of them ever go like, okay, great, I'm in the top 10. Cool, let's go hang out on the beach. You know, they find out that they're in the top 10 and they are like taking class, training, trying to get all the information they can. Because, you know, on this show, it's really interesting on So You Think because you've got people that are like, you know, a B-boy who's having to do contemporary and he's never done it before. So these kids have gotten a lot smarter too over the seasons. You know, it's 15 seasons later. So they know they can't just walk in and be like, well, I've never done anything before. You know, they try and train and make sure that they're at like tip-top shape by the time they get to us.
And that makes sense, certainly. It's, you know, in that way, it's advantageous. Like if you're in the Academy and you made it through to the top 10, but you're like, maybe my weak spot is ballroom or my weak spot is jazz, or, you know, you can sort of try and fill in those gaps of your knowledge and your skill in the intervening time before you actually go live.
Well, you better if you're smart, you're going home, like that's the thing. It's, and I really think these kids have gotten very smart over the years. In those early seasons, no one knew what the show was. And people also probably didn't have a lot of access to things. I do think something like a So You Think has really opened up a lot of possibility for people to learn how to dance in a lot of different styles, so maybe a kid who was a clogger wants to take a contemporary class, just so that they can learn about it. And that's what I think is so cool. Everyone's like training in all these different styles and everyone's learning how to fuse them.
And, I don't know if you want to play favorites since America's going to start voting, but I'm wondering if you have any personal favorites among the top 10 who you're the most excited to work with, or, who you think is really special this season, if you can say.
Well, I mean, I know as much as you do on those Academy shows, like what you guys saw is pretty much what we saw. So, I think it's interesting. We have I think 3 ballroom people in there, which is a lot for us, which is really cool. But someone like a Magda is not as cross-trained as someone like a Jensen. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how Magda does with some of those other styles. Where is Jensen going to really stand out in something like a ballroom? I don't know. Cole's great. Evan Tapper, he got on, which I think is awesome. The kid, I think, is a little bit of a dark horse. We'll see where he goes. I'm trying to think. I love Slavic. He's one of those kids that has no idea. He doesn't know the styles, but he's got a lovely personality, great performance quality. I'm trying to think some of the other girls. Genesee came from nowhere. She did that hip hop number in the last Academy Girls episode and just blew everybody away. That's what I love too about the show is all of a sudden you could think, a lot of people are really angry that Emily, really great dancer, didn't make it into the top 10. But this show isn't about just being a great dancer. It's can you put the effort in? Can you put the hard work in? Does that translate in something that you're not good at? And I think for somebody like Genesee, it did. She came in as a contemporary dancer, and so no one thought anything of her being being in this hip hop number, but then she was amazing. So, I think there's a lot of room for that kind of magic on this show that who knows? I mean, the person that I'm oh, they're going to win, they might go week 1. You just never know.
And, of course, you choreographed for TV, but you've also choreographed for film, including La La Land. Unfortunately, there's no Oscar for choreography. Academy, we could, let's consider that one. But what's it like working with actors compared to, dancers on one of these shows?
Again, just totally different lane in my brain. It's when you're working with someone who has either never danced or has a little bit of dance experience, you have to come at it different. You just have to, there's a lot more coaching and teaching that's involved, along with something like La La Land. It was I was coaching and teaching Ryan and Emma, but then also creating the vocabulary for the film. So the cool part was that I was the same person doing that. So I kind of knew what I needed to train them to do. But, the other side is those are 2 totally different jobs. Yeah, I love working with, it's weird. I mean, I'm a dance nerd. I told you that. I just really love working with dancers in any capacity, short, tall, young, old, can dance, can't dance. I think it's really neat to try and to see the evolution of people when they learn how to dance and who they start out as when they're oh, I can't dance. I don't know. I'm weird, and then at the end they feel graceful and confident and great,
Well, I want to congratulate you again on your Emmy nomination for So You Think You Can Dance this year, and your win last year for Dancing with the Stars, and everything you've got coming up in the next few months with Junior and more So You Think You Can Dance. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later, Kate.